Good to be here. Always good to be here. Welcome to another episode of Matt's Art Chat. And this one is going to be a little different because it's a little more personal than anything I've done on this series. And what this podcast is going to be about is I'm going to be revisiting a time in my life when I dreamt of being a rock star. Well, I still dream about being a rock star, whatever that means. But back then, I was actually in a band. And at its heyday, we were a 5-piece band, and we were called Lexington 125. And we went around the Emerald Isle just kind of looking for places where we could play. And we even recorded a few demos and albums in a few recording studios. So, unfortunately though, even though we loved the music that we played, it was not to be, and we became one of the many once promising bands that couldn't make things work out, and we were a once promising band that never was. But still, in the interest of keeping those memories alive and a botched attempt perhaps even at making art, I decided to kind of record a podcast conversation where I revisit those memories with one of my oldest and best friends, Davy Ryan, who wasn't only the drummer in the band, but he was also the co-founder of the band. We essentially founded the band together, and it was the two of us who decided to start a band way before, now, because it was when we'd first started college, and this is now about over a decade ago. So we had a lot of fun just thinking back to those days and recording those memories, because we very often talk about Lexington 125. I mean, we loved our band and we still love our band. So it's kind of a charming little podcast. Hopefully you guys won't find it too alienating. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it, and we'll see what happens. So thanks very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. Bye.
Hello?
Hey, Davey.
Hey, Matt. How's it going?
What's going on?
Not much?
We're only a couple
At
of
home.
kilometers away. We're only a couple of kilometers away from each other, but I didn't want to
Yeah, I'm
upset
about a 10-minute drive.
and you actually drive, unlike me. But I didn't want to
Yeah.
upset the structure of the podcast so far, and I figured it'd be nice to kind of record a chat where we talk about the good old days when we were both in the same band. What was the band called? I can't remember.
It's called Lexington 125,
Gee, that's a terrible name.
but it started off as the Elastics.
Even worse.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell the listeners what your instrument of choice was?
I was the drummer.
Why did you decide to play the drums, and when did you decide to play the drums?
I think I was in second year in secondary school, and my friend started playing guitar, and we were over at his house, and he was playing, and his little brother had this little like toy drum set thing. So I started messing around on that while he was playing, and I really enjoyed it. So I figured I may as well start learning an instrument. So I started learning the drums. I did lessons then, and only did lessons for a few months because my drum teacher had some issues and he had to stop.
Okay, are you allowed to? Are you allowed to say what the issues are?
I don't know. It was kind of first at the time. I was told he had some sort of meltdown, but then I found out later that that's not what happened, and it was.
And you can't.
It's not that bad. I can't really say, but.
Oh, come on.
He's a great drummer, and his stuff is still out there.
I know that we've known each other for 20 years, but
Actually, I probably can't say because there's videos of him up on YouTube doing it. So it's
Is there?
he became a cross-dresser,
There you go.
and yeah, I think his
I shouldn't laugh. It's not. We're not supposed to laugh at this. It's perfectly normal. But
and he's a great drummer, and he still is. And there was a video up online of him dressed as a woman playing the drums, and he's rocking it.
That's amazing. So
doing it in heels as well, so which must be hard with the pedals.
Oh yeah, but that's kind of that was part of your attire when you were playing the drums, no?
Heels.
No.
No.
But would you say that you had been musical up to that point in your life? I don't remember you being particularly into music.
No, not really. No, I listened to a bit of music, but not even that much.
Yeah. So it was more about just beating something up. It's obviously a percussive instrument, so you're essentially beating it with a stick. So maybe do you think that it was also, I don't know, a way to release stress or emotions or something that was built up inside you somehow?
Yeah, it's very primal, and it definitely gets out any stress you have
Yeah.
when you're doing it. And it's a lot of exercise too, so I guess it's good for you in that way too.
And when you first started playing, were there any who were the first drummers that you became aware of and that somehow influenced you in your early drum playing days?
Well, Dave Grohl definitely. At the time, Block Party were pretty big, so I was listening to a lot of that. And two of my neighbors were drummers as well, so they were showing me stuff. Cobus on YouTube. This was when around the same time he was starting up, so he was a big influence. And then when I was doing lessons, we were looking at Steve Gadd and Buddy Rich, and we looked at Animal from the Muppet Show as well for some reason. Yeah, all of them.
Animal from the Muppets.
Yeah, it was a very famous drum battle with Buddy Rich.
Oh yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Animal is he's based on Elvis's drummer, I think.
Oh, the Muppet Show was some
So
show.
he's good. He's actually yeah.
They had all the biggest stars.
Well,
And then
they
it's
still do. I think they restarted it.
nah, yeah, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of reboots
I,
like that.
yeah, I haven't watched it.
But so at some point then we decide to kind of start a band. Let's cut to the chase. Do you remember when that we started talking about it? When was that?
Uh, it would have been 2007 because it was when we started college.
2007 was when we started college.
Yeah.
Jeez. But the thing is that I didn't know how to play any instruments, and you were the drums. And then we got this other guy to join the band as well, and he learned how to play the bass.
He didn't play any instruments either.
Yeah, he didn't play any instruments either.
Yeah, so he said, "Oh, we'll need a bassist. I'll just learn bass." I was like, "Great, all right."
Which was handy because nobody really wants to would start off by, learning to play the bass. It's
Yeah,
usually the guitar, right?
I think he picked bass because he thought it'd be easier. And
Yeah, we're talking about Kian Martin. So for a while it was just the three of us, wasn't it?
yeah, well, no, I think it was only the three of us for a couple of weeks, and then we got Martin Walsh in to play guitar.
Right. And so do you remember what the first song that we played was at that first band practice?
I don't. I remember we planned on playing "It's My Life" by Bon Jovi,
No,
but
we didn't.
we didn't do that one for some reason.
No, wait a minute. We did do that.
I think we didn't do it because you didn't want to.
No,
Oh, did
we
we?
did. It's just that and didn't we also play Blur song 2?
Oh yeah, of course we played that.
Yeah. That was kind of fun because we used to play at your shed, but your parents were cool with us making noise in your shed in your back garden, weren't they?
Yeah, they were fine with it, and all the neighbors were fine apart from one guy.
What did they think when you told them that you wanted to learn how to play the drums? I forgot to ask you that.
They were fine with me learning. They didn't really want me to get a drum kit though.
Why not?
Well, it's just because it's so loud and it's taking up a load of room in the house, and mostly the loud thing.
Yeah, that's the thing because even that was a problem even in the later years when we were practicing is we got a few complaints from the neighbors, right?
Yeah, we got the guards called on us a few times, but the guards are fine with it. They said, "Look, you're not playing past 7 o'clock. The law says you can play till 11, so not a big deal."
But I remember though that what was it? Did we go around the houses that were kind of your neighbors' houses, try and get them to sign a petition of sorts?
Yeah, we went around asking just to make sure they were all okay with it, and they were all fine with it.
Yeah. And so obviously we're gonna skip ahead a little bit because nobody cares. Well, I don't think anybody cares anyways, but it's just kind of fun.
Well, we'll go through the guitarists and stuff, I guess.
So anyway, well, yeah, but we don't even have to do that. Even so, the first place where we played was the Gaff, which is a place in Galway that doesn't exist anymore. It's now like a highbrow sort of a music/arts venue, but it used to be just a youth center, and that was cool. Actually, I think Martin Dillon had joined the band then, and he was the guitarist. And but then the big
And
one,
Indrek as well.
yeah, the big one though was when we started playing regular gigs at mixers. What
Yeah, Mixers was the
now?
best.
Can you explain to the folks at home what kind of place mixers was?
It was kind of rough enough bar. It wasn't the kind of bar you go in and expect to see a bunch of 16 and 18-year-olds playing the Beatles and stuff.
Yeah, because two of us, two out of five of us weren't even over age.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I remember about that place was there was a keyboard built into the bar. I've never seen anything like it anywhere else.
yeah, that was really cool, but it was never used. I don't know why it was there.
What do you remember of those gigs though? The mixers gigs.
I remember we had to set up the stage before we went in and it was just beer cases with a big board on top, but it wasn't big enough for the drums. So I was down with all the people from the bar.
At this point though, we actually had started playing our own songs, but we had to come up with I think almost 3 hours worth of material to play. And because we were playing rock and roll and we really didn't have that much musician skills, we had to play a lot of songs.
Yeah, well, I remember I was knackered by the end of it. I was covered in sweat. I remember cutting off the stage and just drenched going up to the bar.
Yeah, but do you remember sometime maybe like in the second half of the gig, uh, somebody started shouting stuff at us.
Oh yeah, it was our guitarist Indrek.
Yeah.
His father or his stepfather or something started hurling abuse at him. I have no
I think
idea.
he was complaining that we weren't playing enough. We were talking too much.
That could have been it. I'm not sure. I remember it being really weird because I was like, "That's Indrek's dad. Why is he just hurling abuse up at us?"
Jeez, looking back
And
on
all
that,
our
that was
parents were
rough.
there too.
That was rough looking back on it, though.
Yeah,
Hmm.
felt weird.
Yeah. Anyways, those were the kind of early days. I don't know whether we did that many gigs with that lineup. I think we did a good few, but after that we became a four piece. Indrek left. He'd been the lead guitarist of the band for some time, and then what happened was we played a couple of gigs as a four piece, but we were really missing the final piece of the puzzle. And who was that? I've forgotten his name.
That was James Lawler.
How the hell did
He was in my course with me.
Now let's just say this. All right, so Keen was a childhood friend of mine. We'd been friends for years. I actually knew him before I met you, Davy, and so
Yeah.
and obviously we knew each other. We'd known each other for years as well too. We'd been in secondary school together. But where did James come out of?
James was in my course in college, and I'm not sure if he was. Yeah, no, he was part of the group at that stage. I knew he played guitar, and we had lost Indrek as a guitarist.
Yeah.
And when we had Indrek, James had kept asking to be in the band.
Is that so? Because
uh,
I always thought that he didn't want to be in the band because he didn't think that we were a serious band. It actually reminds me of a story, right, about Martin when we first asked him to join the band.
Oh God, I remember this.
Do you want to tell that story? You tell that story. You tell that.
So there was this place in Galway for playing video games. It was in a basement. It was called Square Eyes, and it was amazing. But they had this room for Rock Band, which is like Guitar Hero, but you have the whole band in it. So
And that same day
we
we'd
had,
asked him, or a couple of days earlier, we'd asked him to join the band.
we asked Martin if he'd join the band, and then later that day we were like, "All right, hey, let's go down to Square Eyes and mess around on Rock Band." And we got down there, and he thought that's what we meant by our band. Yeah. He didn't think we were a real band. He thought we were just some losers playing video games in the basement.
It turns out we weren't just some losers playing rock band in a basement. We were some losers playing in a shed. But but anyway, so skipping ahead, James joins the band. That's really when the band gets started.
Yeah. Yeah, we finally had like a proper lineup. Everyone was good at what they were doing.
Yeah. Did you
And we started writing better songs.
now by we started writing? What do you actually mean?
I mean, you started
We got to tell the story right, you know.
because I'm just the drummer.
Just a joke. You were sort of
I didn't write.
you
Well,
were
I wrote the first. I helped write the first song, but that's it.
yeah. Was that around the time when we also got a manager?
We had a few temporary managers,
this,
so I don't know which one you're
this
talking about.
podcast is gonna be so terrible because I'm just laughing my head off about remembering all these things. Well, they were
I'll
all.
send you the photos and videos later, and you can put those through in front so people can see
Well,
what we're talking
well,
about.
they were all pretty terrible managers that we had. I don't know even if we want to get into it, but we probably shouldn't because one of them at least I'm sure could get us killed.
Anthony was a great manager, but he was
Oh,
only a manager for a weekend.
so this was one of our most kind of famed gigs, and that was just a beautiful story. The
Can
festival
I
of the
say the full
Valley.
story, or
Well, first of all, just because I'm sure people will have switched off this podcast for now, but it doesn't matter. It's my podcast, so it's good because we're keeping the memories alive somehow and we're documenting them. So we've been. I think by the time we did Festival of the Valleys, we'd been playing together as the five of us for about a year, and we'd actually recorded
no?
the first
That
demo.
was First of the Valleys was later, I think.
Yeah, it was after we
2 or 3 years in.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was like 2009 or 10.
Jeez, how long? But I don't know. Did
Hold on, I can check the videos and see.
Well, either way,
Pretty sure it was around then.
I think I think we'd be playing pretty regularly for the first 6 months as a five piece, and we had that great gig in Ars Naguel and just a bunch of places. By then, I think we'd played the Roshan Dove too, or maybe that was the year later. But either way, we kind of got tighter and tighter, and we recorded our first demo in Wicklow.
Yeah, we went down and we had to stay down there because there was a snowstorm
Yes,
and we got snowed in.
we got snowed in.
We had to sleep in this guy's recording studio, which was actually his shed that he had insulated.
Yeah.
And we all slept there with blankets and we watched Animal House and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, I think.
Right. That actually hadn't been the first time we'd been in the recording studio, but it had been the first time that the five of us had been in that recording studio. And we got snowed in. And so we recorded these tracks and we thought that, surely this would be our ticket to fame and stardom, but it actually wasn't that easy finding the gigs around Galway. Did you ever feel frustrated at the fact that we just couldn't find good venues to play in?
Yes, definitely. That was one of the most annoying things.
Yeah.
Everyone seemed to be looking for just cover bands, and we weren't just a cover band.
Of all the places in Galway where we did play, though, which one would you say was your favorite one?
Roisin was pretty great.
Why?
We played there a couple of times. Just having your own, like the full stage, we could all get up there,
Yeah.
and it just felt more professional. There was always a sound engineer there.
Yeah.
Everything.
The Roshan Dove.
It felt
The
better.
Roshan Dove obviously is, just for the people who aren't from Galway, is the biggest live music venue in town.
Yeah, it's most popular anyway.
Yeah. So that was always fun being there.
Well, that and the Keys.
But I think that the biggest gig that we ever did possibly was the Festival of the Valleys, which is arguably the greatest story of the band's touring days.
Can I say the full story, or is it just?
I think this is the centerpiece of the podcast, really.
It could be. It's gonna piss off probably James
Why?
and Martin.
Why?
Just because of what happens in the story.
Wait, what happens in the story? Why would they be pissed off?
You remember the last night with the French woman?
Oh, well, wait a minute. No,
We can leave that out if you want.
well, all right. So we don't have to get into details, but there's a lot to cover because, first of all, this was a huge deal for us because just the fact that we were going to be playing at a festival was exciting enough for us. And this was a festival that was in Clare, in the Burren, right?
Yeah, in Ballyvaughan.
And it was run by this guy who was the father of a friend of ours, actually. I don't know if we should say his full name, but his first name was Noel. Let's just say Noel. And he was an interesting individual. The first night we got there, do you remember what happened?
He said he had accommodation booked for us to stay down there, but it turns out he didn't.
And also, we were told that we would be playing on every night. But the first night, we were told specifically that we didn't need to bring our amps or any of our stuff.
Yes, I remember they said they'd have everything there for us. And it turns out they didn't.
So we were all excited to go on. And then all of a sudden, he's going up on stage and he presents us. We don't know what's going on because There's no amps on stage on the stage. And we're
Oh
just
God, I remember this.
and we go on stage and we literally I think we actually made it on the stage and we were just wondering what the hell we were gonna do.
God, I'd blocked that out. I remember it now. So embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly. But also it was
And
just
they blamed it on us.
yeah, blamed it on us. Well, you should have brought. Why wouldn't you bring your equipment? Well, sure, you told us not to. But anyways, we have to go back to Galway, and we're all sleeping at James's house, and I think we watched The Big Lebowski, and then we go back there. So it was a couple of hours drive, I think, because again they didn't have accommodation booked for us. And the second night, that's the gig we played at this Festival of the Valleys, and it was a really big stage, like I said, and that was a cool night. I think that was a good gig.
That was that was a great night. There's videos up of that as well.
Do you have any memories of being on stage and playing? What was it like?
It was amazing. My drums were a little bit further back than they needed to be, but apart from that, it was fantastic. And yeah, that was my favorite gig that we ever did. I think
Yeah, it does.
with the huge crowd.
That's what it did. But we weren't the main event. I think of that night. Do you remember who it was?
Is it Young Wolf Tones or
No,
something like
no.
that?
I think they no. It was.
Is that Sunday?
Oh my god, I'm dying. No, no, no. That would have been it. I think we actually followed either Bagatelle or Altan.
Oh, Bagatelle. Yeah.
And
One of the
anyways, no,
Bagatelle.
it wasn't. It was a young artist from France.
Oh yeah. I can't remember her
I
name,
can't remember her name either, but
but I
essentially though,
remember her music video.
yeah. Essentially though, it was just a young lady who was singing to a backing track, kind of karaoke style.
Yeah, it was an odd one. I guess maybe she was big in France and they brought her over,
Yeah, I don't know.
but I don't know.
But anyways, and so after that, we find out that we still don't have any accommodation.
Yes. So Anthony got us accommodation. There was one room left, and six of us went into it. There was one bed.
Right. So there were six of us sleeping on one bed.
Yeah, and another one out in the car.
Yeah. And we watched a movie then that time as well. See, this is the rock and roll life. pretty
Yeah, it's just
pretty inebriated
sleeping
with
and
some
watching films.
alcoholic drinks, and we watched Borat, and I think someone left the movie playing, and the Kazakhstan national anthem played for about an hour before I got up and just turned the damn thing on.
I think I slept on the bed frame because we had pulled the mattress off the bed,
Yeah.
so we'd all have space.
On the second night, on the third night, then we were scheduled to play again, but I think that we'd realized that the organization of the festival had been going downhill, so we didn't actually get to play, and everyone was suddenly angry at the organizer Noel, and things went to shits. So our big chance turned into a disaster. Lots of great stories though.
Yeah, it was a great festival though. It was fun. Apart from all the troubles
Apart from
and
this,
everything to do with Noel.
apart from the Festival of the Valley, is there any specific gig from this time frame that you remember?
We played a gig in Air Square once.
Oh yeah, tell me about that.
What they did was they brought basically the back of a truck up there, and they had that as the stage. So we went up on that, and I think we played a pretty short set, and then some other bands came in and they played.
Right, but there wasn't. Air Square is obviously the main town square in Galway City. That was really exciting, but I don't. I think we were basically playing to people who didn't really care about whether we were there or not.
Yeah, it was the middle of the day, and it wasn't amazingly organized. So it wasn't during like a festival or anything. I don't even think. So it was just kind of one day they put a stage there.
We also played in Dublin in a couple of venues in Dublin and other places. Then there was the gigs in Belmullet too. Now,
Oh
would you like
God,
to explain to the folks at home anything? Would you like to tell them about Belmullet? I mean, what kind of a place is it?
It's the back arse of nowhere is what you kind of describe it as.
Oh, why were we there? What kind of a gig were we doing there?
Yeah, those gigs went really well actually. The actual gigs. It was Battle of the Bands.
And but they'd set it up as if there was
Two
three
gigs.
there was three judges, and we got to play a couple of numbers, and they would be the ones to decide whether we got through or not. I think we got through though, didn't we?
We got through the first one, and then the second one was I think it was the crowd's applause. There was judges and there was also the crowd's applause, and that was for the main
And
winner.
of course we lost to I think a band that was Mostly, it was a sort of a family band that played covers of country songs.
Yeah, they brought a load of fans along with them. And I think they were more local, so they're more well known. So they're obviously going to get a big applause.
I remember though, after as the judges were up there in the first night, and they just started judging us, so to speak, and one of the judges said that they didn't like our attitude because we were too cheeky. Do you think that we had that sort of an attitude?
Um, yeah, maybe a little bit. Not too bad though.
Why do you think that is? We're still huge fans of the Beatles, and I think we were trying to replicate what they had going, what they had going
Yeah,
on.
we're definitely. Some of us were definitely trying to emulate the Beatles. We had been watching the Beatles the entire time, so we were watching all their interviews, and I think me and James had gone through most of the Beatles films by this stage. So they definitely influenced our attitude with their humor and everything, and obviously a lot of their music too. We played a lot of their songs.
We definitely had a good time, and there's so many good memories. Before we kind of wrap up our story of Lexington 125, would you like to? Is there any memory from the band? Maybe not even just a gig that comes to
All
mind.
the recordings we did. The last one was really good. We did
Well,
that was the one in Galway.
that's sort of tied to the end of the band, I think, because well, that was it. We thought we it took us, I think, 2 weekends to record that album and mix properly and everything, and that was good. I mean, we worked hard on it, but actually, it ended
Yeah,
up being our swan song because I think the band ended after that.
yeah. Martin kind of left. I think a few weeks after that, we did the photo shoot, and I think he left the week after.
Yeah. What do you remember of the recording though?
We were drinking a lot of coffee, and
I thought you were gonna say something else there.
uh, we were hanging out for a lot of
Yeah.
it, kind of not even recording, just messing around. It was kind of the same for for all the recordings.
We're recording our
Yeah,
original songs, so
that was our first long one as well. I think what was it, 8 songs?
did you like our songs?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I still have them on my phone. I still listen to them.
Yeah, we never did anything with those songs, which is kind of the heartbreaking part.
Yeah, I think they're up on. They're not up on YouTube actually. We had them up on MySpace because MySpace was still around at the time.
Were you kind of heartbroken then that we didn't do anything with the songs?
Yeah, yeah, that sucked. Because we definitely put the most effort into those, and we were really polished by that stage. Like if you compare those to the earlier recordings, there's a huge difference. Like
So after Martin left the band, we tried to carry on as a four piece, and then tried a few different guitarists, I think, but things just really didn't work out. Why do you think they didn't work out?
it just wasn't the same. The group was kind of split, like so. We worked as a 5 piece, not with just four. You know.
Do you think that we'd come to the realization that maybe things weren't going to get any better?
Yeah, that was part of it. Because we're still having the same issue with gigs, like going to bars, they just want cover bands, or they want you to sell tickets for yourself, kind of. I remember that was one of the gigs in Dublin, wanted us to do that. That was kind of weird.
What about us? I mean, do you think that we put in as much effort into the band as we could have, should have, whatever?
I think we put a lot of effort in at the start, but towards the end, obviously, we were getting disillusioned with it. But at the start, everyone was really on board and enthusiastic.
Do you think that maybe Galway itself, the scene in Galway, wasn't big enough?
Yeah, that's probably part of it.
Well, now when you think about the band, what do you think? What comes to mind? I mean, what are your emotions as you think reflect back on those days?
I miss it, like. It was fun.
Did you ever play the drums then after the band?
Not with another band, no. Played them just for fun, like, but I'm living in an apartment now, so I can't really play the drums here.
Yeah, you don't even get to play the drums that much, do you?
No, I have a little electric kit, but it's not the same, like.
You haven't been involved in any other music projects after that.
No.
You entered the world of computers.
Computer game, yeah. I started a video game company.
Yeah.
I think it was a year or two after the band split.
when I told you that I wanted to record this podcast, then you were just telling me that you were looking over all of the Lexington 125 stuff and all the photos and stuff. You've got a
Yeah,
bit of an archive there. Yeah, you've got
yeah.
a bit of an archive. Was there anything that you'd forgotten maybe that you saw in there
There was a
that
lot
you'd
of stuff.
forgotten about?
There was a lot of stuff I'd forgotten about. It's a big. There's about 16 gigabytes of stuff in there. But
Give me some of the stuff. Give me some of the stuff that you kind of forgotten about that
I
you
don't know.
remembered as you looked through all that stuff.
Do you remember when we recorded the music videos for the Gaff?
Yes. Now that was back in the Elastics days still.
Yeah. So I think it was for Crazy Katie. And
No, it wasn't. Was it?
oh no,
It
it
was for
was
You Make My
yeah,
Heart.
You Make My Heart. Yes. So there's
You
five.
still have those.
I have them. There's
Wow.
5 of them.
Now tell me about that. What happened in that day? What was going on?
The Gaff were doing a kind of video project with some of the kids there, and they asked because we played gigs there already. They asked could they do a music video first. So we said yeah, all right. So we shot us playing the song in a bunch of different places, and then they edited it all together afterwards.
And it was us on shopping trolleys around Galway and stuff like that, wasn't it?
Shopping trolleys and playing music down by the Salmon Weir and just kind of messing around in the park.
Really homemade music videos, but it's kind of cool when you think back. What else? Anything else that you've forgotten about?
Oh, TEDfest.
Oh, right. We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah.
What is TEDfest? Explain to the folks at home what TEDfest is.
TEDfest is a festival they have out in the Iron Islands for Father Ted, the TV
Explain to
show.
the folks at home who Father Ted is.
Father Ted is a TV show about a bunch of priests living on an island in Ireland, and it's definitely the most popular show here. Everyone loves it. It's so relatable here.
And so everyone goes to the Iron Islands dressed up as priests and nuns to celebrate the show. We
Yeah.
actually played in the Iron Islands. Those were big gigs for us. Now that was a
Yeah.
good run of gigs. We went there for a couple of months, and then I can't remember why that ended. Why did that come to an end?
The second gig didn't go as well.
Yeah.
I think I couldn't go to the second gig, so we got another drummer.
Jeez, that's why. That is why.
Yeah.
Fuck. And you had to do an exam for something that you didn't pursue a career in, man. Come on.
Yeah, I had to do an exam
Such-
for architecture.
Set your priorities straight there.
Yeah, the weird thing was James had to do the exam too, but he still went.
Yeah, he still went. But you know how much? There was 5 of us, right, in the band. And do you remember how much we got paid for those gigs?
No, I don't.
€300. That's a lot of money, isn't it?
Oh.
Exactly. So that's the kind of money, and that was good for us because nobody was giving us money to play. That's another thing we should mention is we never made any money from years of playing, and whenever we played, even at those gigs, we had to play for 3 hours. We did 3-hour-long sets, and we had fun, but
Yeah.
sure, it took a lot of time, and we weren't making any money, so that kind of contributed, I think, to our downfall because we were broke. We was broke.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a couple of gigs, not many. Like I think we had that one. Mixer paid us, and
Yeah, but nothing.
we had a gig for Sinn Féin, and they
Oh
paid.
yeah. Hey, that's a big deal nowadays. We
Oh yeah,
actually
it's pretty relevant
we
now.
actually played a gig for Sinn Féin people.
Yeah.
And do you want to tell the story of how they'd requested us to end that gig? You don't remember?
I don't remember.
Oh, you see now, Davey, you're not the best at
Did we play the national anthem?
Yeah, they asked us to play the national anthem, and for days in the lead up to
Oh,
the
yeah.
gig, I said, "Guys, they want us to end the gig on with the national anthem," and you were all like, "Ah, no, they don't," because you thought I was kidding. and then before the set ended, this guy who'd organized the gig came around to me and said, "Don't forget to end with the national anthem," and I just kind of I became very worried because we were playing at the Sinn Féin party of Tuam, which is it's not the friendliest of places in County Galway, and all of a sudden we have to play the Irish national anthem, and none of us know how to play it. So you just start playing a marching rhythm or something. I don't know what you'd call it. I'm just on the keyboard with one finger playing the melody, and nobody. It's just the two of us. I think. I think everyone kind of just gave up after trying the first few notes. That actually happened. That is another story. Oh man. I'm sure. I'm sure this. So I have to say that, objectively speaking, this podcast has been one of the worst ones in the series yet.
Yeah, it's just us laughing and talking about the
yeah,
past.
but personally though, it was a lot of fun to read.
Could have done this on a night out, like.
Yeah, we could consider maybe on the 10th anniversary of the band. Actually, I think that's gone already. But we officially formed on Paddy's Day. So maybe we could organize something like a roundtable discussion. And just film a roundtable discussion where we reminisce.
We could do. We have to get everyone together.
Right. All right, Davey, it was fun. Probably nobody's gonna get through to the end of this podcast. Maybe not. I could be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, people might enjoy it.
Any final words about Lexington 125? About just any final thoughts?
No, not really. I think I
No,
said
I
it all.
didn't think.
It was fun when it happened, and
It is what it is, right?
it is what it is. It is what it is.
I know who it is, and it ain't who it is. All right. Thanks, Davey.
All right. Thanks, Matt.